The Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed into law in November, gave the Department of Justice a deadline of December 19th to release all of their documents related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Since Friday, the DOJ has released batches of Epstein-related materials on what has been described as a rolling basis. In the document dumps were photo of Epstein with rich and prominent people and celebrities, an image of former President Bill Clinton soaking in a hot tub, and some mentions of President Donald Trump. The DOJ posted a statement to X with the release of the December 23rd files that in part said, quote, "Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already." Barry Levine, author of The Spider, Inside the Criminal Web of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, has been investigating the deceased sex offender since the mid-2000s and joins Forbes True Crime to discuss what he's learned from the materials that have been released so far. Hi everybody, I'm Brittany Lewis. I am the host of Forbes True Crime. Joining me once again is Barry Levine. He has been covering Jeffrey Epstein for years. He's also the author of The Spider, which is a book that goes into and investigates Epstein's criminal network. Barry, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Brittany, so much for thinking of me today. Very happy to be with you.
Of course, I always rely on your expertise, and this is no different when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein because tranches of files related to the convicted sex offender have been released by the Department of Justice since their Friday deadline. And from the tens of thousands of documents, photos, emails, files that have been dumped, what are some of your takeaways?
Well, I would say, my main focus has always been on the investigation, and with particular focus to when authorities were first alerted to what was going on. And in addition to that, Representative Thomas Massie, who was one of the co-sponsors of the transparency bill, had told us a couple months back that he noted that there were 20 men who took part in the sex trafficking. And he said that the information was from SDNY, this is the Southern District of New York, witness reports. So I'm particularly interested in what the FBI has done over the years to question these men that have been named by victims. And now we are aware that there's 20 men who were named as far as taking part in the sex trafficking. Some of the things that we've learned, and in fact, there was a document that was released today that talked about the fact that the FBI was focusing on 10 men, not 20, but 10 men who were apparently co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. And the FBI document noted the fact that the FBI was trying to reach out to some of these men. One of the men was in Boston, another man was in Ohio. We don't have a lot of specific information, but it does, to me, from the research that I've done for my book, The Spider, it does connect to men that the late Virginia Roberts Giuffre had acknowledged in depositions that she had been sex trafficked to. So that to me made me happy for the sake of the victims that the FBI and investigators were at the very least taking seriously the men that she and others had named. However, we still don't know, and we're still digging into the files in terms of what actions that went beyond that in terms of corroboration of these men.